Hey all, welcome to the show. I got a few questions that I wanted to answer. Most of it coming from one brother in our Discord group and everything. So the other day I mentioned something about like Ethereum centralization, how a lot of these, what do you call these, institutional grade or even what would I call them? I'll call them like centralized exchanges, right? Have the Ethereum mining nodes, right? So the new staking pools and everything, they kind of operate them. So these are the Ethereum mining operators, and how these guys have total domination over it. And 60%, like that's a lot, right? More than 50%. So we talk about Bitcoin 51% attack and this and that on proof of work. Well, these guys now have 60% power to do whatever they want. Also, there was a video today, I forgot who it was. I think it was Coin Bureau. He released a video today regarding some ESG nonsense or whatever, some Joe Biden nonsense, right? So it made total sense. Again, they were talking about Bitcoin using too much electricity and XYZ. So it was all about Bitcoin, right? The fact is, it's not always Bitcoin, right? There's Ethereum out there. And so for what I'm seeing is like, okay, fine, Bitcoin is now proof of work. The king is back in its seat, right? So there's no competition to the king. But I mean, as he pointed out, Guy, yeah, that's his name, Guy. As he pointed out, that 0.8%, right? Sorry about the lighting, guys. I'm driving. It's nighttime here, and this is live. So I'm just shooting it live, and then I'll list it up later on. So, or I'll list it straight away. But this is just a live video. So yeah, I know you guys would love to be live, but I don't want to be shooting anything live while I'm driving. It's not wise, because I might get messages and whatnot and get distracted. I don't want to do that. So the situation we've got, right, is Bitcoin uses about 0.8 or 0.08 or whatever percentage of the global thing, but they're making it such a big thing that they're basically going after Bitcoin. That's what they want to do. They want to do an executive order where Joe Biden or whoever it is, like whichever president there is able to put a executive order out there to go and screw BTC basically, or at least try and screw BTC mining attempt. Now, from what what Guy thinks and what I think as well, it's all the same thing. It's all about trying to figure out who the people are, trying to get the locations of all of these mining operations, which actually is not secure if that does happen. So that's something I wanted to make clear with a lot of people. But they didn't talk too much about Ethereum, just a brief few mentions here and there. And it's the same thing. Ethereum is going to be the new number one, because remember, Ethereum now is 99.9%. Doesn't require energy, right? 99.9% less than what it used to use before. And that's what's happening. So there's a lot of centralization going on, because it's all about knowing who the person is. I mean, I could even see something like, probably they're going to try and enforce some stuff onto coins like Ethereum and so on and so forth, where they might actually even do KYC, AML nonsense on it. Because the thing is, right now, you got to understand, I mean, when we had fiat, right? Or we still have it technically. And then now we've got digital currency coming out. It's a competition, right? So they want to take out as many competition as possible before they move over to their main thing. So that's what's happening here. The other thing I think KR mentioned, let me see the message. He mentioned something about something. Let me just quickly read it. I think this is the one. Yes, this is it. So he talked about something about, okay, we talked about how if BTC, there was another video, somebody else, his name is Steve, he mentioned something, and I didn't really watch it because somebody else also kind of gave me the lowdown of what's going on. So on that particular video, he talks about how BTC could potentially do a 5x from here and go to about 100K or 90K to be more precise. That's what he mentioned. I made a video back in 2020, and I said, based on the economical situation and based on what I think the future holds for us, that Bitcoin could be £72,000 or $100,000. And that was based on the currency exchange rate of that particular day, right? So that still stands. And I said to many people, I said, guys, I'm not going to take that video down because I still feel that's exactly what's going to happen. Because there's a lot of changes happening. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Ultimately, it doesn't really matter, right? Crypto's here to stay, and decentralization, anything that's decentralized will always stay. When we talk about going back to Ethereum, actually, Ethereum centralization, the biggest problem you might have with Ethereum is not going to be Ethereum itself. Ethereum's fine, it's immune. It's the projects that are built on Ethereum. They will suffer the most if the governments or the law, whatever, decides to pick on them, right? So do understand that there are huge implications. So when you are, and this is not a financial advice, right? But when you are investing into these cryptocurrencies from now on, you have to understand the risk is 100%. So my advice is, and this is not a financial advice, if you make enough funds, enough percentage or whatever you want to call it, get the hell out. They're not worth holding on to. So it doesn't matter how bullish you are, what you think they're going to do and they're going to change the world. Believe me, they're not worth holding on to. The ones that are worth holding on to would be probably BTC, Ethereum, Monero, and XYZ, right? Monero, definitely. Again, not a financial advice to you. So that's what I'm seeing. Now, coming back into this thing about BTC being worth 100K. Yes, the technical, there's charts and everything actually do mention this. And this is like 2 videos in one. So I was supposed to do one yesterday. I actually did do it. I'm not joking. I actually did it, but I didn't list it by accident. So it was still left there. So I'm putting both in one right now. And so BTC can be 100K based on the current charts, right? So charts are not forever. Of course, that's a fact on a chart that we can see from now if we do look. However, if we were sitting at 70K, it's still 5x. So there's a few fundamental differences that we are not picking on. We're just picking on certain things. And I like what Steve does, right? And I'll mention what he does. He literally picks on every single time frame. He finds the dots and he connects every single dot there is, to the point where you are left totally confused or you have no idea what's going on, and he covers everything. So he can come back to you and say, well, I told you so. Good on him if that's what he wants to do. But I think he needs to be a little bit more precise in some of this situation. So he picked on this and he said, look, it's 5x. And my point is it could be 5x from here. It could be 5x from 10K. It could be 5x from 50K. It could be 5x from 70K. There is no relevance there, right? So do understand this, right? So 100K, yes, that's what we predicted, but there's a lot of fundamental situations, like financial situations as well, that he hasn't accounted for, which I did in my previous video, in the video where I mentioned that in 5 years time it's going to be worth this much. So I've made my statement, and my statements are usually very bold statements. When I do say something, I just stick to it. I don't really change. You guys should know this. So that's what's happening. And yeah, he mentioned, like, so I'm reading it right now. He said, would it affect other cryptocurrency or hinder the growth of other cryptocurrencies? No, it won't, right? So with Bitcoin, if it does do a 5x from wherever it is, doesn't matter, right? Whatever price it goes to, even if it goes to 100K and it stabilizes, it's just going to be mature. It's just going to do less percentage per year or per cycle compared to what it did before. But that's something we already expect, right? Any wise person would know anything new, any new asset would be very highly volatile. It's alive and kicking, and then eventually it settles and it doesn't do that much anymore. So in the future, we might see BTC doing 5%, 10%, whatever. Where it comes to other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, Cardano, the door is now open. The opportunities are there for them to grow as well, and they might even catch up to BTC. Absolutely fine. It won't impact anything else. The reason I'm going to say this is because, and the reason it won't impact it is because obviously they're all fresh. They're all fresh as well, right? So when BTC settles finally, the attention will move away from Bitcoin to the next one, right? And that could be Ethereum, could be Cardano, could be anything, right? So I'm not going to name anything here, but the attention is going to move over. And when it does, if it's a low cap, of course, people want to fund it, right? And you guys know I'm very bullish on Cardano, and kind of going back and forth. The video where Guy mentioned regarding the Joe Biden executive order. Well, funnily, I think the founder of Cardano was involved in writing some of that, or something like that, he mentioned anyway. But Cardano's definitely there trying to work with the governments. It's already working with the Ethiopian government, and it's trying to do all sorts. It's already kind of implanted itself in India, trying to work there with the governments as well. So Cardano is definitely one of those. I think it's becoming a favorite, at least because they do use a lot of academic data, or academic, whatever you're gonna call it, backing to do certain things. So it's all study based. Like Cardano is mostly study based. And yeah, as I said, BTC goes to 100k and it stops. It doesn't do anything. But there's a fact. Now I'm going to drop the fact to you. So if you watch this video right to this point, then now I'm going to drop the fact to you. What the chart hasn't factored in is a 4-year halvening cycle. The chart cannot factor this in. The chart can only factor in what we've done in the past and give us a probability of what will happen in the future. That's a fact. Nobody can deny that. Charts are not absolute. Only thing you see absolute is what's already happened. What's about to happen is a probability. That's a fact, right? So when we see a chart, we shouldn't take that for granted. We should take it with a pinch of salt. It doesn't mean anything. And it's just a high probability because it never factors in the 4-year cycle, the halvening cycles and everything. So Bitcoin is always going to have those. So that means that if BTC goes and stops at the $100,000 level, then the next cycle, when we have the halvening, well, it could easily double. It could easily go to 200k. So does it really stop at 100k? Don't think so. Of course, there are a lot of people who have been hoping for BTC go to like $1 million in XYZ. And is there a chance for it to go there? Nothing is impossible. But is it going to happen right now? Maybe not. Maybe not in our lifetimes. But the point is probability is high. It will go there. And of course, if you start calculating BTC from the day it was made, from that point onwards, if you calculate the percentage, then yeah, I mean, and if you minus the inflation, so if you minus the inflation, because inflation always, remember, shows up as a different figure, but if you minus the inflation, then yeah, we should be worth $1 million, definitely, you know. But in that currency, in the previous currency, or the minusing the inflation, we would be there. Because if you have $100 worth of something today and it's now worth $1,000 in current money, then you've done well. But if tomorrow's money, that same $1,000 shows up as $10,000, is it really $10,000? Well, it's not. Well, if tomorrow's money is $100,000 for a BTC, well, it could be, if today's money is $100,000 in BTC, well, in tomorrow's money, it could be $1 million. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to factor in those kind of things as well. And I always like to look at things with the bigger eyes. It's like, you just look at the whole great picture and then move on with that. And that's what I've did. So that's what I'm seeing, and I hope this video is informative. I'll make it go, I'll publish it right now, basically. The time now is 9:25. I'll publish it, so of course within a few minutes you guys should get it. But other than that, look, I wouldn't really worry too much about any of these things. There is going to be a lot, and remember, the time when they start kind of literally shitting on BTC, they're trying everything to take it down. All the negative, bad news comes out. Guys, from experience, that's exactly when the new bull run starts. So if anybody was going to ask me one question, or previously they have asked me, is when is the bottom in? Or is the bottom in? Well, I can tell you, if this kind of shitty news is coming out, bottom's definitely in. We're ready for another one. So I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing, buying as much as I can on the bottoms, on my levels. And as soon as we start moving back up, 25k is the level that if we go above the 25k, that means market trend will start to change, and we need to be prepared and hold on tight, because it's going to be a wild ride. Now the ride could last long. It could be all the way into the middle of 2023 to even 2024. So be patient. You know, there's no point in you jumping up and down and, you know, doing anything. And don't go around selling the houses if you haven't already. But, you know, if you haven't got enough money to sell the house, then obviously not. But this is an opportunity. We are going to take that opportunity. It's a high risk. Obviously, everything is high risk. But this is it. Like, from my point of view, this is it. So this is what I see. And as I said, nobody's wrong. The charts aren't wrong. What's happening with Joe Biden's executive order and this, that, whatever, none of it is wrong, right? And yet none of it is right. They have their own points, they have their own meanings, and, you know, even if BTC goes to 100k, yeah, there's a fact that says it will go to 100k. I've even mentioned that. But is it the end? No, it's not. Okay, so it's not the end for crypto. Be patient. Right now, all of this is only because they want to protect their own interest, which is their own digital currency. They need that. And I'm sure they're going to find out ways to barrier to entry. Like, for example, a lot of UK banks now don't allow you to transfer funds to certain cryptocurrency exchanges, and you got to wonder why. I mean, it's my money, I send it wherever I want, but that's what's happening. So in the future, believe me, expect a lot more barriers to entry. So if you're not already prepared, if you're not already in crypto, if you're not already in your USDC, USDT, or whatever, BUSD, you name it, right? If you're not in your stable currencies right now, or any other crypto right now, believe me, in the future, it's going to be a lot harder. Lot harder. And when it becomes harder, it becomes more expensive. A lot of people don't understand. I mean, especially these institutions and these governments and these lawmakers, what they don't understand, when they create barrier to entry, they make it expensive for everybody else, and they blame us do you know what I mean, for using high electricity, for mining and XYZ. Yeah, I'll do another video another time. Anyway, today it's a bit late. I'm really tired. It's been a long day. And I'm sorry for the lighting, as I said, but I did manage to park up. So I am going to catch you on another one, and I'll probably do a complete live one if I'm stationary next time. But other than that, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on another one very soon. Adios, my amigos.